Good morning, everyone. While we are waiting for Ishan Shivanan to join us from California, I thought I would go ahead and get started and welcome you. We're so happy to have you join us today to learn about spiritual care for our Hindu patients and how we can be culturally competent in our care with them. And so a big welcome. I wanted to let you know that if you would like a certification for a CEU, if you can just send me an email in response to the email that I sent out to you and send it directly to me, telling me your name and your discipline, and if you have a license number that you need to be included on that certificate, that would be great. And what I will do, unless I hear differently from you, is I will hold all of the CEUs until the end. That way I know some people will be getting 2, some are getting 8, but that way I can tally them all and just give you one certificate for the entire educational experience. And if you have any questions about that, please feel free to reach out. We are really fortunate in that we're able to offer CEUs for our chaplains, social workers, and nurses. So it's a great opportunity to get 12 credits. And then a big welcome also. I know we have some spiritual care volunteers who have also joined us, and we couldn't do the work without you. So we're really grateful that you are coming alongside to learn. And a bit about Ishan, we were able to connect with Ishan during COVID, and he was a real blessing to our hospice organization. He came alongside of us and provided training in yogic breathing and meditation modalities, and just gave us a lot of encouragement and hope and healing during that time. And he is the founder of Yoga of Immortals. He is internationally faith leader in the Hindu tradition. And so we are just so grateful to have his expertise with us today. And with that, I will turn it over to Ishan Shivanan. Welcome, and thank you so much for joining and leading us today.
Thank you so very much, Miss Patty. It's a pleasure to be here. Before I begin, let us all calm ourselves, take a deep breath, exhale, and close our eyes. With our eyes closed, let us meditate on the silence. And let us contemplate on our eternal self. The self that resides within us, that observes, that feels, that thinks, and towards the self let us create the emotion of love. An emotion of love, compassion, and I hope that everything that we do today will lead to the growth of the self. Take a deep breath, exhale, and with a smile, slowly open your eyes. So, as I begin, I start with the shloka Ekam Sat Aneka Pantana, which means truth is one, but the path to that truth are many. Today we are here to discuss the path of Hinduism or Sanatan Dharma. Now, if we look at the etymology of the word Hinduism, it is not something that exists in history. The religion here is Sanatan Dharma. Now, Sanatan means eternal and Dharma means practices. When we look at Dharma as a practice, the rishis, the saints, they believed that there are some key practices to being a human being, a key philosophy, the ways to life. And then, however the yugas changes, yuga means the chronology of time, then these practices will remain eternal. Irrespective of civilizations, irrespective of empires, these knowledge could be lost. But whenever there will be an inner search, a self-discovery, then man will find that these practices will re-emerge. Hence, they are eternal. So in Hinduism, time is a wheel and it keeps on revolving. So there is the Satyug, there is the Dwapar Yug, there is the Treta Yug, and then there is the Kali Yug. And then the wheel restarts. So the Satyug is the time when there is peace, there is divinity, there is compassion, when people are very kind and nice to each other, people are very close to the divine self and the God consciousness. And then comes the Dwapar Yuga, the second Yuga, where slowly people start to deviate from the divine path. Slowly they start to indulge more and more to the vices. They start to not practice the path of Dharma. Then there is the Treta Yuga. The Treta Yuga is again when more people deviate from the light and more people start to go towards the sanskaras. The sanskaras meaning just the body, the senses. So rather than going towards cognitive approaches, I am going towards the approaches of the body. So where my eyes takes me, where my ears takes me, where my nose takes me, where my mouth takes me. So more animalistic rather than being human. And then finally the fourth is the Kali Yuga, where most of the people will let go of the spiritual path. They will just indulge in Maya. Maya again is illusions. And right now I'm just giving a summary of what it is we are going to do. So I'm going to use a lot of these words, and if ever there is a question about these words, you can make a note, and then when the Q&A session happens, you and I can discuss. And right now, you and I, we are in Kali Yuga. So everywhere, people who are practicing this faith are a bit, on the edge. So when they see the chaos, they see the news, it's Kali Yuga. And they see something bad happening, it's Kali Yuga. So Kali Yuga is the yuga of the time when people are away from the light. But again, there is a cycle, and people understand that what it is today, tomorrow, it will reset. So, Sanatan Dharma, it is the practices that will help us, irrespective of what yuga in which we are living. Irrespective if we are in the Satyug, irrespective if we are in Kalyug, irrespective if we are in Dwapar and Trita. Because that is the timeline. Just like in the Christian calendar, we have the AC and the BC. In the Sanatan faith, we have these yugas. So when we are looking at all the various theories, we are looking at all the scriptures, we are looking at all the great books in which we have, you must have heard about the Gita, uh, the Bhagavad Gita. So all these incidences, that chronology that happens, we will look at it during the yugas. That this is how during the Dwapar Yug, certain reincarnation of God came, or during the Satyug, certain reincarnation of God came, during the Dwapar, certain reincarnation came, and during the Kali Yuga, the expected return of God. So that you will see there are similarities between the Christian faith and the Sanatan faith. So, where the word Hindu comes from? Hindu is actually a sort of relevant new word in the history of Sanatan Dharma, because the people that used to live on the western side, if you look at the Indian subcontinent, and you will find this is the Indian subcontinent. Here on the eastern side, you will see Nepal, China. On the western side, you will see Pakistan, you will see Afghanistan. So during this side where the Pakistan is there is the river called Sindhu. So when India was invaded multiple times by the emperors that used to live in the Afghanistan side and all these sides. So they could not pronounce the word Sindhu, S. So the Sindhu becomes her, Hindu. So basically Hindu just meant anybody that lived on the other side of the Sindhu Nadi, the river Sindhu. So if we look at this word, we try to understand the meaning. There's no such religion called as Hindu. But when the Britishers came to India about 250 years ago, they just picked up this word to explain all the various cultures that were living in India. Because as the days and discussions will proceed, it is very difficult to define all the sects, all the traditions, all the thought patterns, all the concepts, all the rituals that are being followed in India. So I am going to just give you an overview. It's amazing because Miss Patty said that we need to make something like this, because in United States of America, people from Sanatan Dharma, and I will refer both these words together. So sometimes I will refer as Hindu, like the British, sometimes as Sanatan. So please know what I'm talking about. We were just discussing that, oh, there are so many Hindus in America, they pay 7% of federal taxes. And we said, oh, yes. And then we were looking at the chronic care and the end of life care. And we saw there is a big need that all these people that are living in North America, they are eventually going to die. So when they are going to die, we will need to provide care for them. And that's why it's very, very important that we find out how it is that we can provide the best care for them. Just like every single person that's living in North America, living in the United States, we have created these wonderful forms of care in which their faith can be respected and care can be provided according to their beliefs. So there was this thought that if there can be a structure and understanding to the key beliefs and concepts of Sanatan Dharma, so that the chaplains that I see before me and the chaplains that are working in this field, irrespective of whomsoever comes to them, they have the tools and means to provide them the correct care. And that was the thought. But when I started to do the homework, that what are the key concepts and beliefs, then, oh, there was so much. And that's why I understand when the British just said, call them Hindu, call them Hindu, don't talk about it. It's simple. Because everybody is very, it's uniting, because everybody on this side of the Sindhu Nadi is a Hindu. So technically the British was not wrong, but it doesn't mean anything. When it comes to faith, when it comes to the practices of the Sanatan Dharma. So I prepared something as we are beginning. I took it as the young children like to play video games. There is a character definition. So just like that, we have Hinduism. So founded. There is no conclusive date to where Hinduism is founded. Before history and the written word, the practices of Sanatan Dharma have been into existence. Why I say before the written word? Because if we look at the primary scriptures of the Sanatan Dharma, there are two scriptures, two forms of scriptures when we delve into Hinduism: the Agam Shastras and the Nigam Shastras. The Agam Shastra are the books that talk about administration, culture, arts, architecture, and basically generally how society and civilization can be maintained. And supplemental to the Agam Shastras, Shastra just means book, are the Nigam Shastras. The Nigam Shastra are the Vedas. They predate the Agam Shastras. Now, Nigam Shastra, the Vedas, which are the four primary books of Sanatan, before they were verbal. So they come before the written word. And what verbal means that they were transferred in the form of Sanskrit shloka from one teacher to a student. So verbally, he will transmit the Sanskrit shlokas, and then the lineage will continue. Now, much later, when writing came, when Bhojpatra came, the old form of writing, then they were written down. So founded, I could not find any conclusive timeline of what we can say where it would be founded. So it predates recorded history. Maybe as paleontology increases, we will have much more facts to find out. Then founder. Hinduism has no human founder. There are philosophers that have provided a deeper understanding to Hinduism during the chronology of written history, like Adi Shankaracharya. But right now, as history exists, we do not have the founder. And here I must mention to you that India has suffered many invasions. There were two primary libraries, just like there is the Library of Alexandria in Egypt and various other Alexandrias that were created by Alexander of Macedon. India also had a lot of libraries. India had a lot of knowledge. If we uh, go before 1500 BC, 1500 AD, we will find that India was a great knowledge center. There were certain kings like Chandragupta Maurya, Ashok, that were patrons of art and literature. And again, this painting of India that I am trying to present to you, it is not a painting that I am giving. We look at the scholarly works of two people, which are Megasthenes, which is a Greek scholar that came with Alexander the Great to India. So Alexander the Great, when he came to India, it is after that he returned and got diarrhea and died. Probably the spicy food. I don't know. So that's ironical actually. So he got uh, this scholar called Megasthenes that has given extensive details on what he studied and saw in India. So he talks about these great libraries, he talks about beautiful cities, he talks about a thriving culture that exists. And the second scholar, which comes much later, is a scholar called Fa Hein. So Fa Hein, Yun Seng, they are Chinese scholars that came and they also presented a very different and very beautiful history of India. But then around the time of 1500s, 1600s, that's when there were a lot of invasions. And one of the most difficult invasions were the Islamic invasions, and the two main invaders were Muhammad Ghori and Ghazni. So these two gentlemen went and they entered India from the western side, and their prime objective was to just eradicate all prior learning, systematic eradication of any culture or learning that may have existed. So Ghazni and Gori went around destroying all libraries, all text and scriptures. And two primary libraries that existed was the learning center and library of Nalanda, and the learning center and library of Takshashila. And all these were situated in the northern northwestern part of India. So now this is not history, this is a legend that when these libraries were burnt, the libraries kept on burning for almost a few months because the collection of the scriptures, the books, was so much. And then India had the Mughal dynasty, after which came the Britishers. So during that time of almost 600 years, where India was under foreign rule, a lot of the knowledge, especially when we are talking about dates, we are talking about times, we are talking about chronology, that was misplaced. Because if you look at the Mughal Empire, which was a Islamic empire, there were kings who were very accepting and loving of the Hindu traditions, like the King Akbar. To every Akbar, there was a King Aurangzeb. And Aurangzeb is somebody who practiced mass genocide, mass conversions, and again, systematic eradication. Aurangzeb was during the decline of the Mughal Empire. So, yes, he would go around India destroying temples and converting the Indian temples into other forms of worship. And this really led to, again, a disappearance of knowledge and scriptures. British, on the other hand, were not as destructive when it comes to the religious practices, but the British had a sort of propaganda, so rewriting of history, rewriting, which was done in any colonial region that they did take control of. So, as a scholar of the Sanatan studies, it becomes sometimes quite frustrating because a lot of the scriptures are lost to sands of time. But thankfully, we have temples, and temples have their own ways and practices of chronicalizing history. So, through these temples, through what was written in stone, we have been able to put a picture somewhat together which is coherent. But right now, a renaissance is going on in theology and scriptures, so maybe in the time to come we will have something more credible and tangible. But till that time, founded, it is unknown, founder unknown. The major scriptures that Hinduism practices are the Agam Shastra and the Nigam Shastra. So, the Nigama, which is the Veda, there are four Vedas. There is the Atharved, Yajurved, Samved, and Rigved. We do not need to go into much detail, but yes, there are the four Vedas that can be seen as the core concept. Because if we go deeper, then after the Vedas come 108 Upanishads. After the 108 Upanishad come the 16 Purans. Purans are the stories. And after these 16 Puran comes the great literatures of Mahabharata and Ramayana. So generally, if you ask somebody of the major religions of the world that what is your book of worship, so we get a very standard answer. Whereas if you ask somebody who practices Sanatan, there's a whole library that comes with it. And this can lead to a lot of complication. As chaplains, we have to understand that the general public generally does not have access and understanding to all this literature. So they just have a few key beliefs that they hold on to that make them associate to the faith. So as a chaplain, we do not need to worry about the Vedas, the Upanishads, the Purans. If we are aware of a few key concepts, I think we will be able to provide care. So, where is Hinduism practiced currently in the world? 1 billion people approximately exist in India, and the majority religion is Sanatan Dharma. India does not practice a perfect census, so the exact number is debatable. But yes, the majority of people in India are Hindus. Then we have people practicing the Sanatan faith in Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Bhutan, Nepal, Malaysia. In Indian Ocean, we have Hindu countries like Mauritius, again where the majority religion is Sanatan Dharma. So the African subcontinent, these countries are again the ones that were colonized by the British. So after slavery ended in the West, the transatlantic slavery ended in North America and slavery was abolished in the European powers. Not a lot of people know that the brunt of this action was suffered by the Indian people, because the British then came up with this very brilliant concept of marketing, that instead of calling slaves, because slaves was banned, they started to call it indentured labor. And indentured labor literally just meant you will work without pay. Yes, you will work without pay, and that is what it was. So a lot of people were taken from India in boats to the Caribbean, to countries like Guyana, to countries like Trinidad and Tobago, to countries like Mauritius, Fiji, where all these countries are dominant Hindu. And they were taken there for plantation, for sugarcane, and to this date, all these countries are practicing one form of another of the Sanatan Dharma. So that is a lesson in history. And then we talked about the sects of Hinduism. There are four main sects of Hinduism. There are the Shaiv, the Shakt, the Vaishnav, and the Smarth. We will be talking about them in the time to come. Now, a little bit about Hinduism. Hinduism is a vast religion. From a distance, Hinduism may seem like a polytheistic religion, but in actuality, Hinduism worships one supreme reality, which can be called by many names, which is the Brahman. Hinduism teaches that all souls ultimately realize the truth. In the concept of Sanatana, there is no eternal health, no damnation. It will accept all genuine spiritual paths from pure monoism to theistic dualism. Each soul is free to find his own way, whether by devotion, austerity, meditation. Stress is placed upon worship, scripture, and the Guru discipline tradition. Festivals, pilgrimages, hymns, and home worship are dynamic practices of Hinduism. Good conduct and the law of dharma define the Hindu path. Hinduism explains that soul reincarnates until all karmas are resolved and God realization is attained. The magnificent holy temples, the peaceful piety of the Hindu home are the subtle metaphysics and sciences of yoga. Sanatan Dharma is a mystical religion leading to the devotee personally experience the truth within, finally reaching the pinnacle of consciousness where man and God are one. So this can be an introduction to Hinduism. The key beliefs in Hinduism, if we start to delve into them, I made an overview. The first belief of Hinduism is in understanding the world through the scriptures. So a Hindu will believe in the Vedas, which are the Nigam Shastras that I did talk about. So in this belief, the world has no start and no end. As I said, it is a continuous cycle. So a Hindu's first belief is to view the world according to as defined in the Vedic scriptures. So a lot of the Hindu thoughts, concepts, relationships, and interactions with the world are defined through this book. Generally, a Hindu does not have access to the Vedas. So a Hindu depends upon the translations of the wise people that are called the Pandits or the Pujaris. So a Pandit adheres to what can be a father in the Christian faith, or what can be a rabbi in the Jewish faith. So a Pandit is generally the person who has access to the Vedas, and he will transcribe them, interpret them, and a version of the Vedas will reach the general population. In this sense, Hinduism generally suffers from the same uh, problem that all other faiths can suffer from, whereas all the Vedas are in the ancient language of Sanskrit and nobody knows it. A very small population knows it. So, that's why Hindus have this concept of shaking the head, meaning God knows. Because this is yes, this is no. And you'll go to a Pandit, and a Pandit will say something, and you'll be like, okay. Because it's very difficult. It's very difficult then to get a book, go through the book, because Sanskrit is a vast language, it's an ancient language. So just to learn Sanskrit, nobody learns that. And we have to understand, when the Britishers left India, the rate of literacy in India was horrible. So the British rule really harmed India in every which aspect. Before the British came to India, India was a thriving country. It was one of the biggest economic powerhouses. It produced almost a major chunk of the world's GDP. That's the reason why the British came to India, because India had all these spices. India had the Mughal kingdom, which was one of the richest kingdoms of history, uh, Taj Mahal. And India also had one of the highest literacy rate. When the British left in 1947, the literacy rate was under 10%. And that too was with the elites, the Nawabs, the princes, the extremely rich people. So almost 90% of India did not have literacy rate. And then finally, when over time India was able to heal its wound, then literacy, once rewritten, was rewritten in the Western forms, whereas languages which are regional were given predominance and English was given predominance. So Sanskrit took a backseat. Sanskrit and religious studies took a bad seat, so only the Pandits would practice. Whereas if you go back in history, the Sanatan Dharma was practiced in every single household. That picture has radically changed in India right now. So right now, generally, most of the Hindus can only speak one or two verses in Sanskrit, and that is why the understanding will come from the Pandit or the wise people, and that is the first belief of a Hindu is I will look at the world and interact with the world as based on the Vedas. The second belief of a Hindu would be to submit, to understand, to connect to the all pervasive Supreme Being, who is, how do I put it? Nirgun Nirakar, uh, who doesn't have any form, that cannot be defined, that is beyond physics, that is the eternal being from which everyone comes and in which everybody will go back to. So when we are looking at the concept of God in Sanatan Dharma, we will find that there are many translations of God based upon the sect. So if you ever go to a Hindu temple, you will find that as much population there is in Delhi, you will find the same population in a temple. But all these are, through history, a form that is given to the God. So there is the Sakar Swarup, and then there is the Nirakar Swarup. All Sakar Swarup will lead to the Nirakar Swarup. The Sakar is just a form that helps me connect, a form that helps me project my awareness, a form that helps me go towards the Nirakar, the formless God. So it doesn't matter if a Hindu is believing in Shiva or Vishnu or Krishna or Hanuman. Eventually, through the base concepts of Sanatan Dharma, he has to reach towards the Nirgun Nirakar, which is that belief in the Supreme Being. Let us just call it that. The third belief of a Hindu practitioner is there is no beginning and end of the universe. There is Kal Chakra. As I explained to you, there are the yugas. The yug is the time period that exists. So after the Kali Yuga comes Pralay. Pralay is the time when the reset button is pressed. Pralay could be through various stories in the Hindu culture, a great flood. It could be uh, generally, usually it is drowning. Every religion likes drowning. So so what did you learn from religion? Learn to swim, because eventually there is going to be a great flood. So yeah, even in the Hindus, the pralay is generally usually by the flood. It could be by fire or by something. So pralay is basically kaboom, then reset. And Satyug, Dwapar, Treta, Kalyug, pralay, kaboom. So that is one of the other beliefs. The fourth belief would be, which everybody likes, especially when they wear tights and go practice yoga. And I see that this belief has pervaded its way into the Western vernacular, which would be the law of karma. And the law of karma is cause and effect. We shall reap what we sow. And hence, awareness of one's action is very, very important in the everyday Hindu life. So the law of karma is something that every single Hindu does believe in, and it is a key concept in the Sanatan faith. The fifth would be the process of reincarnation. That is a major belief and a key concept in the Sanatan Dharma, and what puts Sanatan Dharma aside is the soul reincarnates, evolving through many births. All karmas have been, and the purpose of life would be to continue to be born until an freedom from the karmic cycle is achieved. As we proceed into today's lecture, we will try to understand the concept of karma and the various form of karma. But the whole point of the Hindu birth is that we are born based upon our previous karmas, and then it should be our duty or dharma to transcend from our birth. So whichever place we are cognitively, we must strive to evolve ourselves through the practice of Sanatan Dharma. We must evolve our body, we must understand and evolve our mind, we must evolve the ways with which we come. So the saying is that there are four main bhavs according to which a person takes birth into the planet. The first is the Pashu Bhav, meaning the animal instinct. So if our karmas are too much, we were a bad person, Hitler in previous life. Then when we were born in this life, our pursuits are animalistic. We do not have a higher understanding or a higher cognition of the world. We will not appreciate art, culture, history. We will not understand the beauty of humanity. Our pursuits are only going to be lustful. And if we see somebody that, oh, just pashu bhav, just like a criminal, just wanting to go and harm somebody or just wanting to do evil things, we say that, oh, it's because of the karma. If the karmas in the past life were a little bit better, then we have the manushya bhav. The manushya bhav is somebody born that has already an inclination towards, so manushya literally means man. So a person who thinks like a man. So a person who is born, who wants to do things for society, who wants to generally be a good person. So the pursuits are marry, study, get a good job, pay your taxes, pray, practice basic religions, not ordinary things. And if a person has very good karmas in the past life, then Deva Bhav. So Deva Bhav means that that person will be born pious. That person already has been given a cognitive advantage when he comes in this life. So all their pursuits would be in a way that will really benefit, and not just benefit, but can alter society in itself. So based upon our karmas, we are born with a certain mindset in this life. And as we live this life, either we are going to resolve the karma or we are going to do more karma, because of the law of karma is that to every action there is an equal and opposite reaction, and we just keep on piling up, piling up, piling up. And then if we are not able to resolve the karma, reset, then the rebirth is going to happen. And if we are able to resolve the karma, then is another key concept of Hinduism is liberation. So Hindus believe that through their spiritual practice, they can achieve liberation. Liberation can be moksha, it can be mukti, it can be enlightenment. That now I have resolved all the karmas and eventually I have achieved freedom and I am become one with the Supreme Being. But because we have so many tries, generally an average Hindu will say, I will do it in the next lifetime. Why bother this lifetime? Another key belief can be that Chaitanya Atma, which means that Hindus believe that the divine resides in everything. So all pervasive. So Chaitanya Atma is that the divine consciousness exists in everything, inanimate and animate objects around us. Hence, all life has to be respected and appreciated. All beings have to be respected and appreciated, because everything comes from God. Everything will go back to God. Hence, everything is a form of God. Ek Onkar, meaning that through our ego, we see is this a discussion that a Hindu person would want to have at the end of life? Where they are in terms of karma? No, because that would stress them. Yes, So the discussion could be, think of all the good things that you have done, all the good karma. Think of all the positivity that you have brought into people's life. Think of all the kind things that you have done. We are going to discuss this in much more detail as time progresses. But yes, if we talk about what do you think, where you are in the whole wheel of karma, then I think the Hindu would need to be sedated. Because trust me, nobody wants to see the ledger. I think it's with every faith, but yeah. The trouble is with the Hindus, they have the past life also, you know. Yes. So then another key belief in Hinduism can be is the reliance and the concept of guru. This is probably, as Miss Patty said, a conversation that can be had with a person that is moving towards death. So a guru is essential to most of the Hindus today. So a Hindu will believe that a spiritually awakened master is essential to know the transcendent absolute as our personal discipline, good conduct, purification. But above good conduct, purification, pilgrimage, self-inquiry and meditation, a Hindu can put this being, which is the guru. And a guru has to be understood as somebody different than a pandit. A pandit is just a scholar. To understand the guru more, I will quote a great saint who came in the 17th century in India. His name was Kabir Das. He said, Guru Gobind do khade kake lagu paye, balihari guru aapne Gobind diyo milay. What this translates to is that if God and Guru are standing in front of me, then before God I will first bow down to the Guru, because it is only through the Guru that I have found God. I would be lost in my life, I would be stuck in my afflictions, but Guru came as an inspiration. Guru came as this powerful being. Guru lifted me up and got me towards the right path. The path and the end goal is, yes, the God, but Guru is the beautiful bridge that a Hindu will take. So generally a Hindu will not know the Vedas, he will not know the scriptures, he will not know all the various things that we are talking about, but his understanding or his daily practices will come from the Guru. Because as we go forward in the lectures and in the days to come, we are going to discuss what are the various practices. Oh, today only we are going to discuss the various practices. So after the beliefs, I will touch upon them. The Guru will choose certain practices and he will give to the disciple in the form of Diksha. So Diksha is what are the key practices that the Guru has given to you. And Diksha can be as simple as mantra, which is chanting of certain words with the rosary, or it could be a yogic practice or a meditation practice. And that Diksha is what will be the anchor of the faith of the Hindu. So a very peaceful and beautiful discussion can be asking a person, who is your Guru? What did he teach you? And that is a learning experience for the caregiver, because two or three things then the person will say if they are in stages of dementia or they are in certain stages of cognitive decline, then they themselves will say that, okay, these are the things, this is the diksha that I got. And then time and time again those things can be reinterpreted to them, which will bring them a lot of peace and happiness. The final belief of a Hindu would be uh, in the belief of Sanatan Dharma. So, what that concept is, that a Hindu will say that no particular religion teaches the only way to salvation above all others, but that all are genuine religious paths, and hence they require a deeper study and understanding. Over time, India has seen a lot of different faiths coming to India, and Sanatan has always been a melting pot of various thoughts, concepts, and understandings. And what that means is that a Hindu understands what I begin with, that the path is one, the truth is one, but the path to that truth is many. So, if you look at the word Sanatan Dharma itself, it is not a religion. It is the key practices, the eternal practices that can help us reach to that supreme being. So generally, over time, over history, a lot of the practices, they evolve, or from different faiths are brought into Hinduism, and generally they are very inclusive. So a Hindu will never say that this religion is greater than that religion, or that person is the only Messiah, or this person is the only word or will of God, because as I said, it is a cycle. So they just keep on accepting everything that is presented to them, and that I find is something very beautiful. So, from the key beliefs, we delve into the key practices of Hinduism. Now, if we look at the key practices, we have to understand that there are the Advait practices of Hinduism, and then there are the Dvait practices of Hinduism. So, in the Dvait traditions comes all the concepts that God, me. So we must understand that again, as I said, it is vast. So I'm going to make it concise into popular. The 7 most popular approaches towards the practices would be: first, we see the 2 main concepts, the Dvait and the Advait. So again, the 7 practices will be either in the form of Dvait or Advait. So the first most common practice could be Hatha Yoga. The Hatha Yoga is achieving God through disciplines, the disciplines of the body. So the Hatha Yoga has concepts of the asana, the pranayam. It has the concepts of dharana, dhyan, samadhi, meaning it is a approach to God where the inner divinity is realized through personal disciplines. After the Hatha Yoga comes the practice of Tantra. Tantra is again a practice where the practitioners utilize mantras, they utilize yantra mandalas. You must be seeing in Hinduism also, which is again derived in Buddhism, which are derived from Hinduism. So again, this is an Advaita concept, that there is no differentiation between God and me. So Dvait is, this is me, that is God. So I have to do a bunch of things for that God, for the God to be happy and the God to somehow bestow his blessing upon me. In the Advait traditions, there is no difference between me and God. The God has to be realized. So in the Dvaita tradition, if we look at Hatha Yoga, all these practices are helping me overcome the karmas and awaken the divine within me. So like the Hatha Yoga, there is the Tantra practices, which rely heavily on the mantras and yantras and symbols. And again, the objective would be to awaken the divine within me. The third major practice can be the Karma Yoga. So the Karma Yoga is, again, after each practice, you will see I am speaking the mantra Yoga. Yoga literally means union. So if you look at the word yoga, yoga is a Western abbreviation that has come into existence. The real word is yog, and yog is union. So if we say Hat Yog, it means union with the divine through the physical practices. Or if we say Tantra Yoga, it means union with the divine through the Tantra practices. Or if we say Karma Yoga, so the word yoga would actually be a verb, an activity, a kriya, which in this part of the lecture comes into as a practice. So the practice of yoga, and what form of yoga is the variation of the practice itself. So karma yoga is, I'm not focusing upon any tradition, but just a discipline in action. So I am doing actions of truth, I am doing actions of cleanliness, I am doing action of kindness, and I hope through these set of actions. So if we delve deeper into karma yoga, then there are like commandments. So there are these principles that we adhere to, which are known as the practice of the karma yoga. Then from the Advait, we start to go towards the Dvait practices. The Dvait practices is the Bhakti Yoga. So the Bhakti Yoga is now, instead of saying when I will awaken the God, now when I will achieve His grace. So the God is now a external being, external deity. And Bhakti Yoga is chanting of hymns. Bhakti Yoga is a lot of prayer. Bhakti literally means the yoga of love and devotion. So a lot of Hindus, a majority of Hindus that will come to you will be practicing one form of another of the Bhakti Yoga. A Bhakti Yoga where God is a deity, an external factor, and the grace of that divine has to be achieved. So in Bhakti Yoga, there is the ritual practice. In Bhakti Yoga, there is the Murti Puja. Murti Puja is statue. There is a creation, an external creation of the deity in the form of a statue, and that statue is worshipped. So when it comes to caregiving, we can ask the family that what is the deity that the gentleman or the woman worships, and that statue can be put, because that statue through Bhakti Yoga, it becomes the beacon through which all light and healing is achieved, and towards which all prayer, rituals are projected. So that statue is very, very important when it comes to the Bhakti Yoga. And Bhakti Yoga is also the center. So if we look at the human body and we look at the chakra system, so the center point is the Anahat, the heart. And it is the center point that is activated through the Bhakti Yoga. The other traditions that I talked about are then going to the lower of the body, and then the other traditions I'm going to talk about are the higher of the body. But the connection between and the most universal form becomes the Bhakti Yoga. And as I said, most of the people that you will work with the exception of outliers, will have that approach. In Bhakti Yoga, the practices would be puja, archana, yagya, and pratna. So puja means appreciation of the deity. So speaking of some hymns or some mantras that appease and invokes the deity. So generally a person of Hindu traditions will have that puja, a personal puja that they would be doing, and the objective of the puja is to appease and invoke the deity. So the deity is somewhere, even the statue is there, but the deity's awareness is somewhere. So once we start to do the puja, then the deity's awareness can come towards us, and then the blessings can be achieved. Archana is offering something to the deity. So in the form of incense, in the form of flowers, or in the form of powder, a red powder that is called kumkum. So generally there is the tilak, the tika that you will see many Hindus do. Again, it has there are various forms of the tika based upon the tradition. So the tika that a Hindu would do on himself will be the same variation that is done on the deity, or what is on the deity is the same variation they will do on themselves. So in the Bhakti Yoga, there is the process of puja, archana, yagya. Yagya is the fire ceremony. I don't think we can do that in hospice. Can we? Next to them, we open a big fire. No, I think that would be a liability issue. But yes, there is the fire ceremonies which exist as a key practice. And then there is pratna. Pratna would be prayer. So there is the Sanskrit version of the pratna, and then there would be the regional language version of the pratna. And the pratna is simple. It's a request to the deity. A pratna, so when a Hindu will look at Christianity, it will say that my Father in heaven, hallowed be thy name, is a pratna. May thy kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us today our daily bread. So a Hindu is looking at it, and a Hindu is saying, this guy is praying, he's doing pratna and bringing that in his life. So a Hindu will also have a pratna that he will do, and generally the pratna would be peace and well-being for himself, peace and well-being to the family, and death to the mother-in-law. Generally, yes. So that doesn't change from religion to religion. What can I say? Then we go towards the other practice of lay yoga. So lay yoga would be part. So in this practice, there is going to be book reading, scripture reading. So scripture reading could be anything like Hanuman Chalisa. It could be the part of Bhagavad Gita. It could be a part of any holy book. So the part is again something that you will find a lot of the people that will be coming to you in care. That would be a practice that a practicing Hindu would be doing. Mostly, again, there cannot be any, there are always exceptions. There cannot be a standard. But, and women do part more than men. As a faith leader, what I've seen statistically, um, a lot of women love to do the part. So part is just a set of Sanskrit shlokas or a set of verses that can be in various languages, and every day during a dedicated time a person is repeating them. So whenever a connection to the God has to be made, they will take a book and they will start to do that. So it can be something like doing the namaz in the Islamic faith, where a set verses are spoken and spoken loudly. So that is the part. And after the lay yoga, there is the practice of the Jnana yoga. Jnana yoga is understanding God through the practice of education. So in this, there is Manan, Smaran, and Dhyan. So Jnana Yoga would be to go through all the Vedas, to go through all the scriptures, and after doing that Smaran, then there is the Manan. So the Smaran is taking in the knowledge, as much knowledge as you can. Manan would then be to uh, contemplate that knowledge. So a cow, when it eats, after eating, it does the jugali, where it's bringing the food back into the mouth and then, re-eating it like a chewing gum. So the same thing in the Jnana Yoga. First, we procure the knowledge, then we do the manan on the knowledge, and then it is the meditation. The meditation on that knowledge till finally the great liberation happens. And then finally, it is one of the last practices that exists would be the practice of sannyas. And sannyas would be the practice of austerity, meaning leave everything and go towards just the practice of faith. So a sannyasi is somebody who has dropped all connection to the world, all connection. So they will wear a certain set of clothes. They will generally not indulge in any form of tamasic food, so anything that they considered impure. So every sect has their own form of sattvic and tamasic. So sattvic means food and a path of life that will take you towards God, and tamasic means a path of life that will take you against God. So sannyasi is somebody who will only do the sattvic practices, and at the same time a sannyasi will let go of all pleasures that come from the senses. So these can be the 7 primary practices that are existing in the Sanatan Dharma, out of which I think the one that we should focus upon the most is the Bhakti Yoga, the yoga of devotion. And in the Bhakti Yoga, the 4 practices that I talked about, in fact, I think the 4th of the Yajna, if we eliminate that, then the 3 practices of puja, archana, and pratna, and if we can just add one more practice to it of dhyan, then these practices together in itself will bring great comfort to somebody practicing the Sanatan faith. That being said, let us move towards the key concepts of the Sanatan Dharma. So in the key concepts of Sanatan Dharma, we have the three main key concepts. The first is the Atma. So the Atma would be, think of the Parbrahma. Parbrahma is the God consciousness as the ocean, and the Atma as the drop. So the drop is on the journey towards the ocean. Now the Atma is separate from the body. A Hindu wears and discards the body like a piece of cloth. So there is no association or connection to the body. There is no concept of identity. So all these understanding of being a man, woman, rich, poor, and this is again one of the very British thought processes that was introduced, is the concept of surname and caste. It did not exist in the Sanatan eras, because in the Sanatan concept doesn't matter what the body is, because eventually the body is dropped. You could be man today, you will be woman tomorrow. You could be a king today, you could be pauper tomorrow. So the whole practice of Hinduism is to take you beyond the body consciousness. And Atma is, if we look at Bhagavad Gita, defined as that which cannot be born, which cannot die, that which cannot be harmed, that which cannot be appeased, that which cannot be taught, that which already has all the knowledge of the world. And Atma is somewhere inside us. So that is the passenger, and that passenger utilizes this body as a vehicle. It even utilizes the senses as to help in our journey, and it utilizes our cognition, but it is above that. So thoughts are not of the Atma, but the Atma is witnessing the thoughts. Emotions are not of the Atma, but the Atma is witnessing the emotions. And eventually, when the body is dropped, then the Atma will continue its journey. And the Atma's journey continues and continues and continues till the enlightenment is achieved. The drop becomes one with the ocean. So generally, when a person will die, the Hindus can say that Atma ne sharir chhod diya, which means that the soul has left the body. So a Hindu will say we have no use of the body. Now the body can be cremated, and there are these rituals that are done so that the Atma doesn't feel any attachment to the body. So many times what has happened, if the Atma has not truly understood its purpose in life, then when the body is left, the Hindus believe that the Atma is still connected to the body. It's still connected to the roles that the body was playing in this life. So then the rituals are done, the death rituals, which we will go through in our third lecture, in the rituals and customs about death. So the concept would be to convince the Atma, shoo, go away, go away, it's done, we have nothing to give you now. And Then through all these rituals of cremation, through all these rituals of prayer, finally the Atma then realizes that, oh yes, of course, I'm not the body, I am the soul, and it gets to its path. In the concepts of Atma, a Hindu will try to do the meditation practices to connect with the Atma. And once a Hindu achieves realization, then the truth of the Atma can be revealed. There are various sects in Hinduism, and the two main sects, or the two opposing sects sort of, can be the Shaivs and the Vaishnavas. So the Shaivs are the one who believe that the Atma can be realized during birth. So technically Buddha is a Shaiv. So while you are alive, you can get the reincarnation, the realization. While you are alive, you can know the Atma. And if you know the Atma, then you are free from birth and death, and you become an enlightened being. Whereas in the Vaishnav traditions, the Atma can only be realized after death. So that is the time when the Atma reveals itself, and that is the time when the Mukti or the liberation happens. I personally come from the Shaiv traditions and believe in the concept that the Atma will be realized during life. So hopefully the next time you'll see me, I'll be Buddha. Hopefully. I don't know. That would be cool, won't it be? But that is the hope. Yes. But yes, if it doesn't happen, do not ask for refund. Is there payment? Oh, no, there isn't. It's okay. For free, you will only get this. If you pay, then the Buddha will teach you. Just kidding. Then comes the concept of karma. So, karma is the baggage that will create the distance between the Atma and the self. So our awareness of the Atma keeps on becoming more further and further away, the more the karma is. So the karma can be said that there are three parts of karma, what a Hindu will believe in. The first is the Sanchit karma. So the Sanchit karma is, a Hindu believes that if you have lived 100 lifetimes, then in 100 lifetimes you have done 100 lifetimes worth of karma. And karma, you can literally think of it as your bank balance, as all the unresolved issues and all the reactions to the actions that we have done. So Sanchit karma would be, if there are 100 lifetimes, then 100 lifetimes worth of karma. Now prarabdha karma is, if we are born, then we have to eradicate the karma that we have created. But how can I eradicate 100 lifetime worth of karma in one life? So the 99 remains in a bank balance with the soul, and the one lifetime worth of karma that I am going to face in this life is called prarabdha karma. So it doesn't matter everything that I'm facing, it is just the prarabdha. The 99 still exists. So if somebody slaps you on the left cheek, that is the prarabdha karma, not the sanchit. The sanchit is still there. That's the cloud. So think of it like you live in America, you have a bank account in Bank of America, and when you are going to, let us say, Thailand, You don't take all your money, all your everything that you have. You will just take, let us say, $1,000. So the $1,000 you take to Thailand is your prarabdha karma, and all your other wealth that is still in America is your sanchit karma. But the Hindus also believe that we don't stop doing karma. So then there is the kriyaman. So if somebody slaps us on the left cheek, then technically we have cut our karma, because the person slapped us because of the past karma. But when somebody slaps us on the left cheek, we slap them on the right cheek. So we create new karma. So that is the kriyaman. So generally, why you will find all Hindus so frustrated is because when we die, we are supposed to have 99 lifetimes worth of karma left, but what ends up happening is we have 101 lifetimes worth of karma now. Ay. So that does become a problem. And that's why we have the culture of sannyas. So in the sannyasi tradition, in the sannyasi culture, in an early age, a person will say and think to himself that if I remain in this world, I am going to end up doing karma. Because in this world, Kim Kardashian is there. And I look at her and I'll create karma. So better I run away. I run away to the Himalayas. I sit under a tree and I just don't do anything. If I don't do anything, then nothing wrong will happen. So when I die, then at least I have eradicated the prarabdha and gotten rid of sanchit. But this concept of karma does remain. But yes, again, cutting karma through living them is one path, but we can eradicate karma through dharma as well. So dharma is a faster way of eradicating karma. So one way of eradicating karma is living it one by one by one. But dharma is a fast forward way. It's like the Vegas of karmas. I can lose it all in one shot. So generally when the realization comes that, oh, there is so much of karma, and so a Hindu can live a very dharmic life. And in that dharmic life, a person will live in a way that helps him eradicate the dharma. So if I want to understand what is dharma is, and this is a very, very important and powerful concept, dharma, especially at end of life. So I made this for you. Dharma is the law of being, the orderly fulfillment of the nature and destiny. Dharma is of four main divisions, which are God law at work. So dharma can be at four levels. It could be at the human level, the social level, the personal level, and the universal level. What the practices of dharma could be. So when God created the universe, he endowed an order. Dharma is God's divine law, prevailing on every level of existence, from sustaining cosmic order to religious and moral order. We can be maintained by dharma, held in its most perfect form. When we follow dharma, we are in conformity with the truth and God's law. Adharma is the opposite of divine law. So God's law is dharma, and if we live with the universal tenets, then it is bringing dharma in our life, and if we go against it, it is the adharma, and adharma will lead to pap, sin, or karma. So if we look at the various forms of riti, riti is again action, then dharma can be of the four types. The social dharma would be different from the personal dharma and the human dharma. So if we look at the various things, then human dharma is known as the ashram dharma. So first we are talking about the human dharma. So the human dharma would be that each being, the life is divided into four stages. So first is the brahmacharya ashram. So every single Hindu, when he is born, he has to follow life in certain way. So the human dharma would be the first, the brahmacharya ashram. It is the first 25 years of my life. So the first 25 years of my life, in the dharmic traditions, I have to give a preference to my education. I have to give preference to the self-discipline. I have to give preference to developing myself as a human being. That is my dharma. The next 25 years of my life is the grahast ashram. So the grahast ashram is now I have to give preference to getting married, having kids, working, and enjoying life. Which is ironical because I don't associate any of this with enjoying life. But it is the dharma. So the first 25 years was just discipline, developing yourself. So we have to let go of anything that takes me away from self-development, which is the brahmacharya ashram. So brahmacharya ashram is generally when we don't even look at the opposite sex. We are just working upon ourselves. And when the grahast ashram comes, that's when we start to find an ideal mate. There is going to be kids, there is going to be work, and there is going to be enjoyment. So indulge in a dharmic way whatever joys that you can indulge upon. Then comes the vanprasth ashram. So in the vanprasth ashram, the dharma is to transfer all the knowledge to the other generation. So now I become like a teacher. So if I have generated wealth, I have generated knowledge, I have generated wisdom, I have generated experience, then I transfer it back. I transfer it back to society, I transfer it back to my kids, and I'm making sure that humanity is sustained in a wise manner. And the last 25 years, the last part of the life is called sannyas ashram. Sannyas ashram is I have done whatever I could do. That's it. Nothing else can be done. So stop hoping. Stop giving that much of a crap about everything else. And start to think about the self, start to think about God, start to think about death, start to think about letting go, start to dwell deeper inside. So these are the human dharmas. Generally, people will come to you in the sannyas ashram. So in the sannyas ashram, a Hindu, again, they have to be reminded that whatever is done is done. That was your vanprasth ashram, that was your grahast ashram. Stop worrying about your kids. Nothing can be done. You are Hindu. Now sannyas, worry about your death. Worry about meeting the maker. Worry about all these concepts and principles. So this would be the human dharma. If we talk about the universal dharma. So the universal dharma is very important. It is the riti, is the underlying divine principle of universal law. So universal law, known in the Vedas as riti, is the cosmic order. God's rule at work throughout the physical province. It is the infinite intelligence or consciousness in nature. And it is the sustenance of the cosmic design. So generally, universal dharma, we do not have that much work to do with it. I think it is the human and the social dharma that will have impact on our understanding with the care. Social dharma is again a concept where a person is born and a person chooses a certain type of work. So dharma can also be seen as a debt. Let us look at it in this manner. So the moment you are born, you are in debt. It's like student loan. Yeah, the best way to put it. So the moment a Hindu is born, he is in debt. He is in debt to the gods, he is in debt to the parents, he is in debt to society. So one is the personal dharma that I am doing for cutting my karmas, for becoming a good person, for uplifting myself to the Brahma. But then again, form of dharma is the debt that I have to do because I am in debt. So the social dharma is, if I am a king, then it becomes my dharma to do certain things. If I am a warrior, then it becomes certain dharma for me to do because I am in depth of society. If I am a teacher, then there are certain codes that I do have to follow to become a very integral part of the society. And because of this concept of dharma, the concept of debt, there is also great guilt and shame in the Hindu traditions. So guilt and shame would be a parent telling their kids that you are not following your dharma. Your dharma is to leave everything and take care of us. It's lovely being a Hindu parent. It's amazing. Well, the older generation, I don't get anything. My kids are American, but if we look at the traditional concepts, then these dharmas exist. And when also it comes to death, in end of life, there will be guilt. What are the debts I was not able to fulfill? Debts towards my family, debt towards my loved ones, debts even towards my God. So if there is this concept when you are looking at the social dharma, that if a person must have thought that, oh, I will do the pilgrimage or I will do the temple worship and I wasn't able to do it, then I have not followed dharma. Because in the concept of this dharma is also pilgrimage. So the dharma towards the deity. And every sect has their own pilgrimage. So there's no certain concept like the Islam has a Hajj, or in Christianity we have the pilgrimage towards Jerusalem. India has Char Dham. Char Dham is generally where all Hindus generally go, but the Shaivs go to the Jyotirling, which are 12 temple sites, and the Vaishnavas have their Vaishnav sites, but the Char Dham, generally four primary places of going, are very important. And the last, which is most important pertaining to death, is the pilgrimage of Ganga, the divine river. And this pilgrimage doesn't need to be done while you are alive. Your ashes can be put in it and the pilgrimage is done. So a person may carry with them some debt or guilt that they have not been able to fulfill that dharma. But generally, these are the various types of dharma that can exist in a person's life. And this dharma, which is the personal dharma, the human dharma, the social dharma, or uh, the dharma towards the gods. So one is dharma, which is action, divine action, divine path to overcome the karma. And one is dharma as an activity of repayment of the debt towards everything that is around me. So dharma in totality help us overcome the karma, and once the karma is overcome, then the atma can be realized. So This is the beauty. Then I would like to go towards the significance and symbolism. I think I've already gone through most of it, but if there are some questions pertaining to the same, then we can revert back to it. And finally, we come to worship, which we discussed as a powerful form of the Bhakti Yoga. And from the worship, we go towards festival and celebrations. So if we want to look at festivals, there are almost every day can be a festival. There's 10,000 years of history and culture that exists. But here we are going to look at the prime religious festivals that exist. So the two main festivals could be Diwali and Holi. So the Diwali and Holi is, now I'm talking about the general consensus. So the popular culture. Diwali is known as the festival of lights. It is associated with the Vishnu avatar of the Vaishnav sect, Bhagwan Ram. So Diwali is when he fulfilled all his duties and he came back to his kingdom. So on his return, in celebration, lights were lit in every single household, and the return of Ram was celebrated. Today, Hindus celebrate this festival with various ways. The most spiritual one see this as a night of great meditation and puja. So they spend time with their family in contemplation, meditation, and worship. In popular culture, it is practiced like the 4th of July, where lots of firecrackers are done in celebration. And there are other ways to follow Diwali. Every household has its own way. Holi is the festival of colors. Like Diwali is the festival of light, Holi is the festival of colors. And again, it is associated with the Vishnu avatar of Krishna. So when I say avatar, I mean that in the Vishnu traditions, Vaishnav traditions, God came in various human forms on the planet Earth. So the two main forms that are very widely worshipped are Ram and Krishna. So Ram predates Krishna and Krishna came later. So in the Dwapar Yuga came the Ram and in the Treta came Krishna, and Krishna is associated with Holi. So there are two thoughts of approaching Holi. One is Krishna used to play this festival of colors with his gopis. Like in his childhood, he had all these divine beings reincarnate, which were sort of like his friends, women friends. And as a playful activity, they would throw color at each other. So Holi is associated with that. And also, there is another reincarnation of Vishnu in the form of Narsimha. And in this, he had a disciple whose name was Prahlad. And he was very good, very divine, but he had a very evil father. So the evil father wanted to kill the divine son who used to pray to Vishnu. But everything that they tried, they failed. So the evil father had an evil sister by the name of Holika, and she was immune to fire. So they came up with a plan that Holika will hold Prahlad and jump into the fire. But that day the miracle happened that Holika died and Prahlad survived. So again, we practice Holi. We have the celebration of Holi because Holi is teaching us that no matter what, the divine will survive. Good will always find a way. Some other widely practiced festivals which are in theological nature are the Mahashivratri. Ratri means night, and Shiva means the god Shiva, Shiva's night. So Mahashivratri is in March. It is one day of celebration. It is followed mostly by the Shaivites, where they pray and worship, and the thought process is that if this night you worship Shiva, great things will happen in your life. Then there is the Navaratris, which is followed by the Shakt traditions. The Shakt tradition is the ones that pray to the feminine energy of God. So God in feminine form. So rather than the Shaiv and the Vaishnav traditions where God is seen as a masculine energy, the Shakt tradition sees the God in the feminine energy, so as goddess. So there is the Navaratri, means the 9 nights of praying to the Divine Mother, and the celebration generally involves very beautiful dances in the form of Garbha, and it involves prayers, it involves pujas, it involves dressing up like a Christmas tree and looking beautiful. And generally in all these festivals there is also fasting involved, but some people may not choose to fast. So these can be the 4 primary festivals that a Hindu does believe in, but then it can continue. There is the Ganesh Chaturthi, which the subsect. So in Shaivites we can say Mahashivratri is then the primary. Then Shiva's children are there. Out of Shiva's children, the most famous children in the West is the Ganesh, the elephant-headed god. So even that elephant-headed god has a festival, Ganesh Chaturthi, where people worship Ganesh in the life, where they make a form of Ganesh, they pray to him, and when the festival is over, then the Ganpati Visarjan happens, where he's put back in water. And Ganesh is very, very common to all the sects and traditions, because Ganesh is seen as that if we worship him before we start anything, there is going to be success. And South Asian people love success. So it doesn't matter if it is Vaishnav or Shakt or Shaiv or the Smart, everybody prays to Ganesha, because praying to him will bring success in our life. So these 4 celebrations and festivals can be said are very, very important to the Hindu traditions. But here I would like to make a classification, very, very important. In the Hindu traditions, there is the North Indian practice, and then there is the South Indian practice. The North Indian practice is a very happy practice, because when the invasions happened, North India suffered the brunt of the invasion. So a lot of the rituals were lost. A lot of the traditions were lost. So North India practices various forms of Bhakti Yoga. And Bhakti Yoga is, at some point, I pray to God, God listens, and everything is nice. So it's much more simplistic form of festival, much more simplistic form of practice. Something as simple as offering flowers to a deity, it is fine. But then we talk about South India. South India has a much more complicated form of rituals, practices, and festivals. Because South India was free from a lot of the brunt of the empires that came historically. So they were able to preserve a lot of the cultures and traditions. So the temple worship is very, very different to North India. The practices are very, very different to North India, and there is much more focus on rituals. There is much more focus on traditions. There is much more elaborate, so to speak, the understanding of the Sanatan Dharma. So even if we are talking about festivals, then they have the festivals of Onam, they have the festival of Thaipusam, which are very, very important for them, and which nobody in North India would have heard about. So if there is need in the future, then I think we can have detailed conversations about the differences, and we can have a detailed understanding on what are the South Indian festivals and what are the North Indian festivals, and what are uh, the differences. But here I have taken geographically India as a whole, and I have tried to give you the four uh, main festivals that generally all the people in India will practice. Out of that, primarily it would be Holi, Diwali, but then again, uh, there can be differences. Finally comes the importance of rituals in Hindu life. So in Hindu life, the rituals we can say would be the sanskaras that exist, and so if we are looking at the sanskaras of the Hindu traditions, there are 16 main sanskaras, 16 main rituals that a Hindu has to follow. So out of that 16, so these are the rituals of birth, and it goes all the way to the ritual of death. So if we look at Hindu Dharma as the rituals begin before birth. So first is the Garbh Sanskar. So many Hindus will practice this sanskars where when a child is about to be born and he's in the mother's womb, then some rituals have to be done, whereas we pray that let the most divine child come into the mother's womb, let them be blessed, and let bliss and divinity come in the child's life. Then from the Garbh Sanskar, so Garbh Sanskar, even technically it is before the child is in the mother's womb. So when there is a thought process of I am going to have a child, then we start to do the Garbh Sanskar. So what qualities we want to bring in the child, and what important things would be necessary. So then from the Garbh Sanskar comes the ritual of during the pregnancy, then comes from the rituals of protection of the mother, then comes the Jat Karma. When the child is born, then there are rituals of naming of the child, of blessing the child. So basically ritual can be divided into the ritual of the one before birth, then the rituals during the birth, then the ritual immediately after the birth, and for us the most important, which is the Antim Sanskar, the ritual at death. So in between them, there are the rituals that a Hindu will follow, which is the ritual of Vivah, meaning the ritual of marriage. But out of all the 16 rituals that exist, the most important are the ritual after birth, then the marriage and ritual ceremonies, and the Antim Sanskar ceremonies. So most of the Hindus will not visit all the 16 rituals that they are supposed to visit in day-to-day life. But these three rituals is something that they will revisit. It will come into everybody's life, and it will bring them closer to their faith. And out of all these rituals, because viva is something that somebody may or may not do, which is marriage, and birth rituals is again dependent upon family, again dependent upon geography, again dependent upon socio-economic status. For example, if I talk about myself, my daughter was born in America, so I wasn't able to do half of the rituals that were done upon me. So there is also the ritual of Mundan, which is you shave your head, and then the name is given. There is also the ritual of piercing the ears, which I wasn't able to do. There is also the ritual of the first food that is given by the extended family, and because my child was born in the COVID times, nothing happened. But there is one ritual that unites all the Hindus, and guess what? Death. And I'm so happy that in the time that you and I are going to spend together, that is the one ritual we are going to talk about. And generally, death rituals are the one that each and every single Hindu is going to practice in their lives. And the death rituals are known as the Antim Sanskars, means the final rites which are practiced. So that would conclude today's lecture. I think I was able to conclude all the topics, and I was able to touch up upon some of the topics which during the future conversations, the detailed conversations can happen. But before I let you go, if there are any questions, I would love to answer, please.
If there are any questions, please feel free to unmute yourself, and happy to take them.
Yes, your Atma can ask the question, or your body. I am here to answer the questions of the body. Yes.
I, for one, know that I will not be asking about the karmic ledger at end of life. So that was important. Thank you, Ishan.
Yes.
I don't know about anyone else. This has been extremely helpful. So much I did not know, and so much more that I hope to learn. So thank you very much. This has been just very eye-opening, and something that I didn't know much about. And now I feel like I know just a little bit enough to be dangerous. So I guess that's a good thing.
Yes, ma'am. And also, I would like to mention a few books that have taken as reference, and if a deeper delve into Hinduism can be done. So, one is Dancing with Shiva. It is a three-volume book written by Sadguru Shiva Subramaniam. It is a very powerful take, a very defined and detailed book on Hinduism. Then I would like to also talk about the Encyclopedia of Hinduism, which is done by the Mandla Publishing and compiled by Parmarth Niketan. Also, I would like to discuss about Hinduism by Swami Vivekanand. So this book also detailed in a much greater way of the key concepts, beliefs of the Hindu traditions. The Encyclopedia of Hinduism has many books. Dancing with Shiva has 3 volumes, but Hinduism by Vivekananda can be a concise form that can give us a simple understanding, and the book is under 200 pages. So Yes.
Wonderful. Thank you. It looks like we have somebody with their hand raised. Denny, you want to go ahead and unmute?
Thank you. I'm sorry, I did not catch the name of that third book. Can you repeat that, please?
Yes, ma'am. I will repeat that. It is Hinduism by Swami Vivekanand. I can even share the link. It's available on Kindle. That's nice. Yes. And it is 74 pages.
Wow.
So nice. So it's easy. So then if Miss Patty, somebody wants to be really, really dangerous, I would recommend that book because it touches upon everything that we have talked about of all the dharma, karma, atma, the ashrams. So that is very, very nice.
Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't see any other questions. So I think you've given us so much to think about. I look forward to our next session. Thank you so much for being on Pacific time and joining us on Eastern. I know that's quite a stretch, and we very much appreciate your willingness to get
Oh,
up bright and early and to greet us. So
thank you
uh,
so very much, ma'am. It's always nice, before I saw the sun, I saw all of you. Thank you.
we're very shiny. Yeah. Okay.
You're filled with light.
That's right, filled with light. Thank you so much, everyone. I'll be in touch with the next session link. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to send them my way. And we can get those to Ishan and address them next time we're together. So thank
Thank you,
you all.
ma'am.
Have a wonderful day. Appreciate you.
My regards
Bye-bye.
to all of you.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Bye-bye.